can you tell everyone what our friends at Target have been up to while I finish setting up?
I got you. Through their Black Beyond Measure campaign, Target is celebrating and elevating Black success all year round. We told you last fall about the HBCU design contest where the winners were showcased last month. Shout out to Trey representing the Real HU, Hampton University. They've also got the Buy Black Product Hub where you can shop for Black owned and founded brands. Target is out here uplifting the Black community year round, y'all.
If you want to learn more about how Target continues to support Black entrepreneurs, students, and creatives, visit target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
It can be a dark world sometimes. Don't be afraid to be a source of light. It can be a dark world sometimes. But don't be afraid to be a source of light.
Peace, good people.
Peace.
Fee, how we feeling today?
I'm feeling all right. How are you?
I'm feeling good. The day's got some flow to it.
The day has had some flow for sure.
Absolutely. Shout out to Kamali for her stellar performance right before
pristine
today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Soul Affirmations with Felicia and Karega.
With Karega and Felicia.
And the listeners on the Black Love Podcast Network.
Hey, happy to be here.
Shout out to y'all.
So Riga, I have an affirmation that I'm going to pull.
Okay.
I haven't spent a lot of time on social media lately because Kamali calls me other places. And then when I have moments to myself, it just looks different now. I'm doing a lot of more writing. Mm-hmm. But I had a moment before we got started here. And I saw a clip of a brother skateboarding. And it was a dope clip because he had like this army fatigue and orange on. And he's riding down this mountain. And he has these really cool glasses where you can see his reflection, but he's riding down and it's playing Maintaining Peace on the Path.
What?
Is as important. I think that's the one it was playing.
I didn't see that coming.
Oh.
Fire.
I believe that is the one that was playing.
Fire.
And forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm under the impression that that was the one that was playing. But if not, I'm still pulling this one. It's actually on page 62 of your book. And I said it, maintaining peace on the path is as important as the destination. Maintaining peace on the path is as important as the destination where you arrive. I want to ask you why on this one in particular. What inspired the writing or the knowing and the understanding and the practice of this?
Fee asks such amazing questions from a sincere place and a beautiful layer. Why this particular affirmation? Well, I think about peace. And to my truest self, it is important always. And we shouldn't sacrifice our own peace. Though our peace may be challenged by circumstances, I don't think about subjecting myself by choice to something that interrupts my peace. I think peace is really important.
Yeah.
It's a promise. When you think of peace as its value, then you realize how important it is. And realizing how important peace was, it brought me to this particular knowing. I wrote it from a space of, at a time, working on a project.
Okay.
And it can be a specific project or it can be a term goal you have for yourself. Some people have goals. I want to do this by this age. I want to do this by this time. And I found that when in that mind state, we sometimes forego our own peace. And we, in that instance, have control over whether or not we honor that peace. And I don't know if anybody on the listening end can relate, but whether it's a specific goal, a project, a release date, sometimes we work so feverishly in that time period or on the way to what we think might invite the happiness. And it's also important not to misconstrue happiness and peace. Or sometimes when we think something is going to make us happy, we think we find the peace inherently in that happiness. But we don't know. We don't know for certain if that thing is going to make us happy.
Right.
We're unaware of where time will be as a continuum when we get there.
Right.
And what's most valuable to you at that particular time, not based on what you set for yourself. Time as a continuum has its own circumstances, settings, experiences. And in a very close look at myself, I remembered the things I thought I needed in order to be ready for parenthood.
Oh yeah, as do I.
And I know pregnancy kind of situates the reality different, but peace is so valuable in the pregnancy, in the nesting, in the delivery, in the home, in the transition. It is so valuable. I can't think of any time where you forgo having it. So when we think about peace being as important, maintaining peace on the path,
maintaining it
is as important as the destination. This is the habit of mine that replaces I'll be happy when. If I can just get here.
Man.
If I can just get here, I'll have what I need. If I can just do it this way, I'll find that happiness. I don't find that to be true in life as I know it. Maintaining peace is what allows me to see moments for joy. Maintaining peace is what allows me to find gratitude.
Yeah.
Maintaining the peace allows me to be present. And it's not that maintaining peace automatically means that I'm finding joy, I'm finding gratitude. Like, it doesn't always look like that, right? It's not, I'm going to be happy on the path and maintaining my happiness is important as where I'm going. That's not what I'm saying. Peace is the invitation to be present. Peace is the invitation to be present. And it's being present that helps me engage in how the day may flow.
I was thinking of peace having a relationship with present as I was listening to you guide us through that. And I really appreciate you noting that maintaining peace may not necessarily look like happiness, because I was going to ask you, like, well, what is this? How does one maintain the peace? Like, what does that look like? I wrote it down. Peace is to be present, but I think it's even further than that. I think peace is being okay with the present.
Absolutely. It's unique. It kind of goes around in this like kind of circle of life diagram, right? That being present as a condition helps you to function with how the day comes. I think of peace as it includes other habits of mind. For example, when we experience adversity or it comes our way, there's also knowing that another affirmation talks about the gift of impermanence, right? And if I should experience adversity, being present helps me understand that this is a moment. It's not a long-term condition. And that present helps me reroute to my peace, even if I'm experiencing adversity. I've experienced different levels of challenges. Some, I feel like I lost control. And I've also experienced challenges where I was like, damn, I'm really proud of myself for how I handled that. I could have flew off the handle. I remember a version of me that didn't respond this way. Sidebar. I think that all has something to do with being hydrated.
What?
I just feel ultimately better about experiences when I'm hydrated.
Okay.
I'm not quoting a science to it, but I notice if there is a room or a heated discussion and I have some water to drink, I'll actually drink my water in place of saying something.
I've seen you do this.
Absolutely.
And every time you've done it, I always will say to myself, it's a unique time to drink water.
It gives me a moment to process before responding.
I feel like everybody that's listening right now is taking a sip.
I hope so. Think about it. When we talk about the importance of a deep breath and how we often forget to breathe deep in spaces of adversity or challenges. Well, hydration in water is also very important. I don't have a science to this, so I don't know how people respond or how I respond or how we respond. Generally underhydrated or dehydrated. But for me, having water with me helps give me a moment to process before I respond. I can listen maybe a few seconds longer. I'm not rehearsing my response in my head before I render it, right? Because that would mean that I'm definitely not present. I'm not listening to you if I'm doing that.
Right.
But I just wanted to note that that's something I've experienced. And this is more often than not school settings or conversations or trying to come to an understanding or seeing eye to eye. Taking a sip of water helps me. I just thought I'd put that in there as a real-time note to myself.
Yeah, I think it's dope that you know that.
So I wonder what other types of practices could we render to buy us a little bit more time before we respond to what is challenging us.
Wow.
I wonder what practices can we take just to listen for a few seconds more before we interject. What practices can we take that help us maintain peace on the path, even when the path ain't peaceful? These affirmations aren't meant to be like an ideal set of circumstances for this very Zen approach to life. These affirmations, this collection is written from a space of adversity. What does it look like to maintain peace on the path when the path ain't peaceful?
When the path feel a whole lot like grief. That's immediately my reference point.
Mm-hmm.
I can recall where I didn't necessarily have a goal or a destination for the day other than, or I retract that. And this is open processing. Goal and destination was to be a version of myself that I once was, that I no longer was.
Allow me to process that statement with this affirmation. Maintaining peace on the path is as important as the destination. In that goal, you had an idea of a destination, but it is impossible to attain. So that isn't truly a destination. It's a desire.
It's a desire. Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to feel that way, but it's important to distinguish that sometimes our desires can feel like destinations.
Mm-hmm.
But it requires time to process that and understand that. Yeah. And I think that in your case, in our case, all there was a path, destination yet unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So think about how important it is then to maintain peace on the path, because all you got is a path.
Man, and it was really challenging. But I can recall when I had been on the path for a number of days, some days would feel different, right? And some mornings I could feel the weight of my grief, or I could feel deeper in that ocean than I did previously. And making note of that was important for me. Making note that, okay, today feels a little differently, and I'll give it its space to feel the way that it feels. Being okay with it.
My ear tells me you were being present with the day because you were giving yourself time to process it wherever it should meet you. And the peace in which I speak of, it must reside internally. Someone else can't create this peace for you, and you can't go search for it. There are conditions that exist that help you find it within, but the peace is always within. It isn't manufactured. You can't drive to it. And well, I think we want to, right?
Yeah.
We want to catch flights, not feelings.
Yeah.
Right? We want to take a vacation to somewhere sunny. And none of that equals peace inherently. Because I've also seen people catch flights, not feelings, and catch feelings after they landed on that flight. I've seen it all. I've seen couples go at it on trips.
You might.
Ain't that a trip?
Ain't that a trip?
Bar. No, but really, I think that the general invitation of this space is to examine this affirmation and to make sure that it is accessible for everyone. So it was really important to differentiate between a desire and a destination. It was really important to acknowledge how similar they can feel. After pursuing that desire, appearing as the destination, when you have time to pursue it, you might realize, oh, this isn't exactly a destination. It's what I desire most, how I want to feel about life, how I want to feel about today. But you don't actually have another option but the day you have. We can recall feelings, thoughts, emotions, but we can't go back to them because time is a continuum. It doesn't afford us the opportunity to go back. However, we can reflect. We don't always have to be some version of ourselves that's doing. We have the right to be human beings. We are human beings. And sometimes I find that it is in the being present with the day that helps me maintain my peace. It does not mean that the day is peaceful, but I feel so accomplished, so satisfied when I maintain my peace and my hydration.
Man.
It feels rewarding. And before you know it, the day closes and another begins.
Happens every day.
At least that's how I experience it.
That's how it be.
And Felicia and I are trying to practice at this moment, trying to get to bed a little sooner. And, y'all just wish us luck on that. Keep us on your prayer list. But the notion behind going to bed sooner is so that one day doesn't bleed into another. And if we can just have some closure to the day, it helps me be prepared for the next one. It is hard to be prepared for the next day when I am still in the previous days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Rest is critically important. And even though it doesn't always happen according to plan, I just feel encouraged by the general intention and the leaning into the effort of getting to bed sooner.
Ooh. And that is a reminder for me to maintain peace on the path. It is as important as getting to bed. Sometimes I get really frustrated.
Oh, let's talk about it.
Sometimes it can be that it is challenging. It is challenging to have a goal, and having such a young child, there is so much flexibility in how your day moves and how things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to have better control over it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I could say that admittedly. I'd like to have better control over my day.
Sounds about right.
That is a nice little nudge.
I'm glad it found you. No, really, I'm glad it found you in the most authentic place, motherhood. The most rewarding, the most challenging, that particular part of your life, as I see it, as I hear you vocalize it. But I also hear that while you'd like to have more control of how the day goes, I just want to offer the loving reminder that the only thing you do have control over is how you respond to how the day goes.
Ooh,
right?
You ain't lying.
And nothing feels better than the dance. A little give, a little take. I got you, you got me. A little handoff for recovery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Even when it's tiring, I'm like, damn, we did that. No matter what curve Kamali threw, we danced with it. Speaking of which, I just really want to take a second to acknowledge our Black Love Podcast family and Masu and Crystal and their flexibility with us that helps us come to the space when Kamali want to play around with her nap time. But something I want to remind myself out loud, and hopefully this episode finds me. I'm going to laugh when Kamali finds it. But I want to remind myself this idea of like Kamali throwing curves. Yesterday's Kamali is not today's Kamali. Cognitively, she's developing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Every day she's developing new faculties, new exploration. So my expectation of her, even 3 weeks ago, isn't fair to the person she's becoming. And if I understand that she's becoming, hopefully I can be less frustrated because I'm in admiration of a natural process that's occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Not my desire to fit her in a box that works around my life. I have the privilege of watching her become.
Say that.
And that privilege is worth attending to, given the very different reality of hoping and wishing to watch Kamayu become.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn that she still was becoming differently than we imagined, but she's still becoming.
Yeah.
She is. But when I frame for myself that Kamali is becoming, and that's why nothing looks the same from day to day, it is important for us to have our systems, things that help her identify what time of day it is, but also just to marvel at who she's becoming. And if there's any developmental specialist around like early cognitive behavior, and yes, Felicia has a whole PhD in educational psychology, and I've been an educator for years, but this one seems to miss us both. So if there's a listener out there that can tell me a little bit more about this, I want to marvel. I want to have an fascination for Kamali pulling things out of bags. But right now, I'm not as fascinated as I want to be.
Where he was
She
going.
unpacks every single bag she finds. Every bag.
It's actually pretty impressive because she stabilizes my purse with her left hand and uses her right to pull things out. I'm very impressed. I'm impressed.
Okay, impressive with the purse. I'm less impressed with her pulling everything out of her diaper bag.
But everything, yeah.
My gym bag.
Absolutely everything.
A to-go bag, a grocery bag,
and
bag.
Anything that you put back in, she immediately pulls right back out.
It has
like,
to go
no,
out.
This has to be out of here.
So maybe there's a listener who can like just chime in or drop us a DM and help us understand this part of.
I told Rick, I was like, it has to be something cognitive based.
It
like,
is.
I can't understand.
It is, and I want to marvel at it. But right now, y'all, I'm not marveling. Okay, I am challenged. But how beautiful it is to say that openly.
Mm-hmm.
But I know she's becoming.
She is,
and it's a joy to watch it happen.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a reward in every milestone she accomplishes. So how antiquated of me to want the same day, each day with her. That ain't gonna work.
That ain't gonna work.
So even when I challenge my presentation of behavior, my thoughts, my feelings, it helps me maintain peace on the path. There's even a part of it that requires me to go in and challenge myself. Because everything doesn't always work out. Sometimes you got to do the work.
Rika, before we go any further, can we take a minute to talk about joy?
We can always take a moment to talk about joy.
Well, one thing that brought me joy this week was when Kamali was squeezing that oatmeal and that banana and that saliva.
No, that was not joy.
But another thing that brought me joy was my weekly Target run. You know, I love to go, and I was able to shop Black owned and found brands to get everything we needed for our space.
Is that where the new coffee is from?
Well, we need to have our coffee. I love making sure we are surrounded by joy every day. If you want to surround yourself with a little joy and help uplift Black creatives, visit target.com/Black Beyond Measure to learn more.
What a valuable space to be able to do this work, Fee.
I'm grateful for it.
We have a podcast family that comes here to do this work on themselves as we do it on ourselves, real time.
Made room for by Kamayu.
And Kamali.
Thank you, Rika, for taking us on that journey to understanding the ways that, well, one, the significance of maintaining peace, how we do it, the ways that we can continue to practice it. I just appreciate how you navigated that process. I think you made it clearer for me.
I made it clearer for me in this chapter of fatherhood, differently than where I was when I wrote it.
Yeah.
It was today's application.
And that's important to note, too, that it is changing and ongoing.
When we do this type of work, this is why I say, may we all love more abundantly. It isn't just a wish. It's a deep hope, empowered by the willingness to do the work, to create the conditions that allow us to alleviate our own suffering. So if this podcast just created a moment for you to listen, reflect, take a deep breath or take a sip of water, think about how much water you're taking in, think about how much rest you're getting, thinking about what you need to respond to your day and not control your day. I hope you found a place in your thinking, a place in your lived experiences that allowed you to reflect, because I certainly did.
Yes.
And Fee, I love the questions you layered, and I love this space. And I just really want to thank our listeners today. Thank you to our executive producers, Cody and Tommy Oliver. Thank you to our producer, Crystal Hill.
Yes.
And our ever so present and brilliant editor, Masu McLemore. What an amazing team.
Thank you.
Be sure to follow us.
Yes, follow, subscribe, leave a comment, ask us a question.
And I'm hoping that somebody hears this episode and slides in mine or Felicia's DM or email or somewhere and tell me more about why they keep pulling things out of bags. Okay? I just want to know. Big love, y'all. Peace.